All right, everybody. Rumors are back. We knew it would come. We knew the day would come. Giannis Antetokounmpo is being rumored to possibly still want out of Milwaukee, and the Knicks still have their eye on them. This is according to Ian Begley, reported by Bleacher Report, SNY, that apparently this situation in Milwaukee is not settled. I thought it was. The offseason has pretty much come and gone as far as free agency is concerned. There are a lot of trades made. There are still some free agents out there, so there are still moves to be made by certain teams, but a lot of those teams are making moves on the margins. Like the Knicks have a vet minimum that they could probably give somebody. You have players like Quentin Grimes who are still out there on the market, but who's probably going to stay in Philadelphia. There are still moves to be made by certain teams, but the offseason, for all intents and purposes, has pretty much come and gone. Now, we did see last year, a month before the season start, the Knicks make a trade for Karl-Anthony Towns, sending Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo to Minnesota. So that's not to say that it's completely dead and things cannot happen. But I thought this was dead. I thought Giannis was content on staying in Milwaukee. The Bucks made a lot of moves to keep him there, specifically getting Miles Turner, to me, who's a better version of Brook Lopez, somebody who is a big guy who can guard the paint and shoot the three. I thought they were doing things like getting Cole Anthony to beef off the bench. I thought they were going for it again. In a year where Jason Tatum's going to be out, Tyrese Halliburton's going to be out, anything could happen in the East. And it seemed like Giannis would be content, but apparently, not that he's unhappy, but the situation is not resolved yet. Leading to the Knicks keeping their options open here. To me, I get the lure of wanting Giannis. I understand it. He's one of the best players in the league, but you're going to blow up your core again with a new head coach going into another season. That seems like a lot of risk to take. The package for Giannis would have to be astronomical in my mind, so you just use this offseason to build up as much depth as possible. Now you're going to give it all back. It doesn't seem like it would be too ideal depending on what the package looks like. Obviously, it's Giannis, so you're going to listen. You're going to consider it, but I don't know how I would specifically feel about that. And in the article as well, Bleacher Report, and Ian has reported this as well, the main piece would be Mikal Bridges, and that's why they haven't extended him yet. There has been hesitation on extending Mikal Bridges' contract because if they extend him, they cannot trade him for 6 months. So even if they sign him now, 6 months from now, you can't even trade him at the trade deadline, I think. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. No, you can. You probably could, depending. You have to sign him right now, essentially. So for me, this is more about Mikal and not being sure about Mikal, if you're reading in between the lines here, right? Because even if you don't get Giannis, even if you don't think you're getting Giannis, if you don't sign Mikal, that means you're still open to trading him for something else, maybe even at the deadline, which I think the Knicks, that's the bigger story here to me, is that the Knicks just won't sign extend Mikal Bridges. And we've seen what happens with players who Leon Rose and James Dolan do not extend, right? They typically get traded. I think there is, I wouldn't say a lack of belief in Mikal right now, but I do think that there's a little bit of buyer's remorse. He didn't have the season that we wanted him to have. Now, there were some high spots, especially in the Boston Celtics series, but there were a lot of lows as well, and some can attribute that to Tom Thibodeau and his coaching style and, lack of ball movement on offense, him not getting into rhythm, which is actually what I kind of believe. I do think he'll be better offensively under Mike Brown, touching the basketball more, getting more into rhythm. And then defensively, he got off to a slow start, wasn't the aggressive defensive player of the year candidate that he was in Phoenix. At times he was, as again, we saw it in the Boston series closing out fourth quarters. So I think the Knicks are a little unsure here with Mikal Bridges. I think that's more of the bigger story. Obviously, you're going to lead with Giannis because it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. But for me, it's the Knicks are questioning whether or not they want to keep Mikal Bridges still. And I think that's going to be in question, honestly, up until the trade deadline. I don't think they're going to extend him. I think this Giannis story is just kind of them saying that, hey, yeah, we are open to Giannis, but it's more about Mikal Bridges not being extended here. And I'm interested to see how Mike Brown plans on using him. I'm interested to hear what Mike Brown thinks of Mikal Bridges and, what he said in those interviews, how he can get Mikal Bridges going, right? If you're interviewing for a head coaching position, you're telling, the owner and the GM, this is how I would use the roster. This is the system I would implement. This is what I would do. And for me, it's becoming glaringly obvious now that they plan on keeping Cat, and Mikal's the guy who they're looking to shop if they're looking to shop. If they come out the season and they're 500, they're not fulfilling expectations, they're not this championship contender that we think they should be, then it's going to be Mikal Bridges on the chopping block, despite the fact they gave up all these draft picks for him. That's the story here to me. We could talk about the Knicks getting Giannis and what that looks like, but that would require a lack of faith in the core that they have right now. And this core is a core that was 2 games away from going to the finals. This is not like the Knicks need the massive upgrade, right? You win on the margins. You get better. You get a little better to get into the NBA finals, especially in a year like this where, again, Tatum's out, Tyrese is out. So for me, if you're considering even blowing up the team, that shows a lack of faith in something. And I think it's becoming obvious now that something isn't Karl-Anthony Towns, it's Mikal Bridges and the lineup they have going right now. So look out for that. It wouldn't surprise me if they don't extend Mikal Bridges. I know we've been looking for that, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Mitch might be extended soon. It wouldn't surprise me if we see that. I think Mitch is too valuable not to extend, especially on the defensive end. The Knicks have kind of went in a different direction this offseason, getting Jordan Clarkson and Gershon Yabusele. These are 2 guys who can score the basketball, but not necessarily defend at the rate, especially that Mitchell Robinson can. So Mitch's skill set is going to be very valuable here. It wouldn't surprise me if they extend Mitch and don't extend Mikal. Other news, Josh Hart, finger surgery. I don't know if you saw his post. He has to walk around in that cast for 6 weeks. It's okay, Josh. You'll be fine. Just glad you got that. Finger surgery, it seems like it's like a small thing because it's a finger and whatnot, but extremities, man, they could affect the way you play. And so I'm glad he got it now. He'll be able to do basketball activities by the end of the summer, which means he'll be good for preseason. He'll be good for all that stuff. He'll be good for the regular season. Josh Hart will not be missing time unless something goes wrong. So Josh, get healthy. Looking forward to you having another good season for the New York Knicks. Besides that, listen, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think. Do you think Giannis to the Knicks is a possibility? Do you think that this is smoke and mirrors? Do you think that reading between the lines, this is just the Knicks saying, hey, we're not really confident in Mikal Bridges right now? Because that's what I think it is. And let me know if you want Mikal Bridges around. I do. I want to give him another shot. You give up 5 draft picks for a guy. You see his potential. You saw what he did in Phoenix. You saw what he did in Brooklyn offensively. I think, if you just implement a system with more ball movement, he'll be okay. Let me know if you disagree. All right. We'll catch you tomorrow for another episode of Knicks Latest. Peace.